you know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
The beat of the Fox with nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice from UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio App.
Noise.
Peace. What's on your heart? Are you exhausted at the lack of progress for people of color in business, politics, and life? This is Cindy Bright, the host of Heartbeat Radio. Each week, we explore this heart condition in the country that is affecting you and me. We have real conversations about what's necessary for change. It's time to change this dialogue. Will you join this Heartbeat weekly, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio?
This message is brought to you by Public Health, Seattle and King County, the Washington Department of Health, Washington Chapter AAP, and Within Reach. No matter where your classroom is, whether in person or online, routine vaccinations protect your child from serious diseases like measles, mumps, and chickenpox, and they keep your child safe, healthy, and thriving. Need help finding a provider? Visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Yo! What up, though?
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
All right, then. It's time for you to bring it to the table.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat.
Yeah.
With Tony B. For the next hour, Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community. Street Beat. Street Beat. Tony.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio .world. It's me, your host, Tony B. This is Street Beat, the beat of the city. The beat of the city this week is definitely Confunction in town for 5 days at Jazz Alley. Starting tonight, actually, and I'm pretty sure that there's a couple shows on Friday and a couple shows on Saturday. And, I'm not going to keep you waiting because I'm just as excited as you are. And when we put the word out about this, I saw all of the responses. Oh, Confunction is going to be interviewing. We're going to talk to Confunction. We're going to the show. So we're not even going to wait, okay? Joining me, the iconic voices of Confunction, Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing good. I'm good, man.
Blessed to be here.
Yeah, really good.
Good to talk to both of you. I want to go back and find out about some things about you guys, that folks may not know. One of the things that some folks may know who are younger, who may not have known, is this record called Love's Train. And for those of us who know Love's Train, and I'll set you, I'll set you back. Okay. Yeah, I'll set you out okay and all but some folks heard Love's. This is the group that originally wrote that song.
Yes.
Yes.
and many more as well. So I'm going to start, with that. how did that happen? Did they come to you? I read that you went and saw the performance and you guys met. How did that happen? Then when did you find out? Did you just hear it on the radio?
My daughter sent me a text with a link on it and asked me, "Did I have you seen this?" And when I looked at it, I responded and said, "No." She says, "Have you looked at it?" And I said, "No." And I hit it, and the song came on. Right, and it was just a picture of the song. And I'm listening, and all of a sudden I realize that it's Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. So I didn't finish the song.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped it and immediately sent it to him. And I said, "Well, have you seen this?" And then he went to Instagram and sent me something, and from that it just took off like a rocket from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
But our publishing company and them, and probably them or their people probably all got together and made that happen. And they have no obligation to tell us. They just need to send us a check.
Okay. How did that feel when you heard it? And I guess it's just a question. How did you feel about it?
After listening to the song for 40 years,
yeah,
the same way, listening to someone else do it for me comes off as a shock, right? Very pleasant one in this case, because Drew Hill also covered the song, right? So as songwriters, to hear someone else doing your stuff is always a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And see, and I listened to it. I didn't finish listening to it the first time.
Yeah.
So after about 30 minutes or so, I went in my car. And that's where I do my best listening.
Yeah.
And I turned it on in my car, and I was sitting there listening to it. And about halfway, a little bit more than halfway, when I saw the little changes that they did, I was over the moon. I was like,
really?
Man, these guys knocked this out the park. Then I played it again.
Yeah.
And then I just, that was it. I said, we got to do something with this.
Yeah. Well, man, congratulations on all fronts.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk to specifically for Confunction fans. All right. You guys are iconic, and what you did and the music that you played became, as folks say, kind of the soundtrack of our lives. Everybody, man, you put out multiple albums and a unique sound. How did Confunction? This is a question I want to know. How did the band get started? How did you form?
Wow. As many times I've answered that question. I'm doing a book, so this is great because you're now making me go, okay, let me get into the details because I have to go into details in the book. But no, the band, just like a lot of bands, high school, you start in high school messing around with your talent shows, and 1 minute you got one group name, you got another group, you're called something else. In our case, the band was called Project Soul.
Okay.
And it started in high school. And
what city?
In Vallejo, California.
Vallejo,
California. I hooked up in junior high with a gentleman named Lewis McCall, our drummer, the guy who plays on all the hits. And he had a drum set, which was unbelievable, to be at that age and had a full drum set and knew how to play it. And I remember following him home one day, and he was playing his drums. Him and I played in the school band. And it just went from there. We both went on to Vallejo High, and we started a little trio. We entered a little talent show, and we got ourselves a little singer, and we did about 3 songs. And it just took off from there. We did after game dances, and then we did other shows, and then we wound up playing. Make a long story short, we wound up playing high schools and the different small, little events around town. And someone actually paid us. Someone actually gave us some money to do that once, and that was it. We were hooked.
Now, were you playing, as a lot of groups were at that time, cover tunes? Or were you at that point, saying, okay, well, let's do original music, which is really hard, to get started, at least from what
Yeah, it was all covers. Just whatever was on the radio. That's what we played. We joined a thing called the Young Musicians Club of Vallejo, which broadened. The Young Musicians Club of Vallejo. Once we joined that, of course, being the only black band in this little organization, our horizons began to broaden real quick. So I began to listen to lots and lots of different music. That's when I met him.
Okay.
And that's when he came.
Parallel story. Like Mike, I had just started a band when I was about 16. Pretty much. I think our first concert was Oakland Army Base, and we got paid to do. Yeah, we got $60 on our first gig.
Did you get food too? Sometimes I get food.
Yeah. And so in the talent shows and the Battle of the Bands thing that occasionally occurred, I would occasionally see these guys, right? And I remember my first time seeing Project Soul, I turned to my band and I said, "Guys, this is what we need to look like." I honestly did. And so we now in my band we had about maybe 2 or 3 original songs, but most of it was top 40 stuff, whatever was playing on the radio. And then our paths converged. My band broke up because the drummer was getting bad grades and his dad pulled him out. And I said, "Screw it, I didn't feel like doing it." That's it. That's that. Michael showed up. "Hey man, your band broke up."
Opportunity.
Yeah. You would consider joining us? I was like, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
And it goes a little deeper than that, because we had a manager, gentleman named Joe Connors, and he had a record shop and all that. And so we were kind of.
You mean an actual record store?
It's record store. Record store.
Record store.
And we, as band members, would take turns working, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were making like $5 an hour or $4 an hour.
Probably $3.75.
Yeah, we were making, So we would work. Cedric worked there. I would work there, and he was tied into Stax Records. That's how he was get some of his records from Stax on a bootleg tip. So he's met a guy by the name of Al Bell. Make a long story short, Show Children had hit records, a couple of hit records, and they came out and they had a big fight with their band in California. They're all from Memphis, and the band, they broke up. They sent the band back home, and they needed a band for the gig in Berkeley. And Joe said, "Well, I got a band." Well, what Joe didn't know is we had limits on how much musical skills we had, so you just threw us in the fire with professionals, and we listened to Sweeter He Is, and we listened to some more music by the Soul Children. We're going like, we think we can get that, but I know a guy, the second he hears it, he's going to tell us exactly what to play. So here I go across town, mooching, and try to grab him and bring him in, and it worked out great because we came in, Felton had all the chords down, we had the horns, we had everything they needed. They wound up using their drummer, and we knocked the gig out, and they said, "You know what, we're gonna rent your station wagon, U-Haul trailer, see you in Memphis."
Wow.
And that's how we went over from amateurs to pros.
Wow. That's an incredible story. You're listening to Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate, the iconic voices of Confunction. I'm Tony B. You're listening to Street Beat. Starting tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, I think 2 shows on Friday.
One show on Friday.
1 show on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, a show on Sunday. Jazz Alley, you can see Confunction. I know that there are just a few tickets left. So not very many, but there's still a few tickets left. And so you don't want to miss this opportunity. For those of you who are unfamiliar, for those of you who know, I know you're about to go get your tickets right now. and I'm going tonight because I have to see these guys and having them here. And I want to Daniel, how much time do we left before we go to break? Because I'm wondering if I should do this before we go to break or not. Daniel
left.
Yeah.
Okay.
15 minutes.
Oh, okay. We're good. So this is the other part that I wanted to get to, because I talked about, initially when bands get together, which I figured was the case with you, you play cover tunes.
Right.
You can't, that's not your identity. You at some point have to become a songwriter, or somebody has to write songs for you, or something like that. So this is to both of you, and it could be individually, it could be together. That's what I want to talk about, because Confunction has a unique sound, has always sounded like Confunction. Even when you went to another record and it was a little bit, you knew it was Confunction. Songwriting, tell me, for both of you, when that started and what that process is like. Because I can go through the songs, you know what I mean? Got to Be Enough, Shake and Dance With Me, it Chase Me. And even though they're different, and then I can go through the ballads too, it still sounds like Confunction. Tell me about the writing process. Whether that's individual or group, and I'm gonna let you guys, or as a group, you guys play it and people add stuff, and it just has that Confunction feel. How does it happen? How does the man, fun?
Fun was very simple to do. What it was is my even till to this day, my whole idea was I'm a commercial guy. I like to write music that will go out and make us money.
I'm gonna stop you for a second, because I want you to go back to when you first realized playing other songs is cool. I feel like I got some stuff inside of me. When did that start?
When we went to Memphis, I learned we were studio musicians, so we were being paid $10 an hour to sit and give of ourselves. Whatever popped in our heads. They roll a tape, and they would tell us, hey, play this, play that, and add whatever you want. And we wound up actually literally writing songs that other people would then take and put lyrics on. And we would get $10 an hour for it. And that's when I realized that, well, if I can sit here and play all this stuff and all these grooves and stuff, and for $10 an hour, it might be nice to sit down and write some stuff for myself,
Okay.
And that's this had actually started before we went to Memphis. We had songs before we actually left Vallejo. We had a little recording deal, can't say contract, with a guy named Lamont Bench, and we recorded a song on his little label called Ebony. Yeah, and we was to see the record. Actually, there it is, Project Soul, Ebony, right? I think the other side was Sweet Things of Life. Sweet Things of Life. We had a little ballad on the other side, and those are original songs. And so it went before we got to Memphis. But when it got to Memphis, I began to realize there's money in this. There's money in this. You need to really start buckling down and doing it.
And I'm going to pick up from, so Felton, for you, songwriting.
I was writing little melodies and stuff when I was 13 and 14. So I've been experimenting with. There's been a piano in my house ever as long as I can remember. So I was always tinkling around with coming up with little melodies. I had a little simple melody when I was taking piano lessons, and my piano teacher, Miss Tanya Erickson, who would drive from San Francisco to Vallejo to give me piano lessons. I played a little melody for her. Da, 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 I mean, at a young age, and she took and added some little jazz chords to it for my left hand. And I was like, okay, I get this, right? For the song Michael mentioned, Ebony, that was written by our keyboard player, Danny Thomas, right? And he basically had a chord progression and a melody, and that whole songwriting process, because once he brought it to the band, and it was a case of Michael adding, okay, well, hey, I've got a guitar part that'll work with this. Instead of going, okay, here's a bass part that doing, then the horn players kind of added to a horn arrangement. It's my theory that as musicians, we are all part of whatever has come before. So for every James Brown song that we learned as a top 40 band, all that funk that we had to learn on guitars, that interaction between the bass and the drums, that now becomes part of part of our heart, or or the express yourself.
Charles Wright.
Charles Wright. Songs like that. So every little piece of something that we had already learned became part of our vocabulary. So when time to come down and express something there, we get to stuff that we have absorbed now comes back out. But as much as I play someone else's song, I'm gonna call it limited by my own musicianship. So it always sounds like me. It doesn't matter if I'm playing someone else. I have my set of, I'll call it limitations. It's gonna sound like me.
Yeah.
So it's my theory that Confunction's sound, everything that we learned working at Stax Records, and from all the top 40 stuff we did, we were able to just blend that together into what is the Confunction sound.
Yeah. And what was the name of your band? Project Soul was the name. You didn't tell us what the name.
We were called Interbreed.
Interbreed.
And then when we changed personnel, it was called Second Wind.
Second Wind. Okay. When did it get to Confunction?
Wow.
And how did you come up with the name?
I was going to say that's a two-part story. So back to Project Soul, getting a little bit more known around the area, meaning Sacramento to San Francisco. We got a chance to play a thing called the Unity Festival in Sacramento at Sacramento State College. It's a 3-day event, and they had at the end of the evenings, they would have these headliners: Charles Wright, the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, New Birth, The Main Ingredient.
Oh boy!
They would end the evenings with these guys. These recording artists had hit records, but all day long with all local bands, just local bands. And we got a chance to stay on campus. We had our own little dorm rooms and everything. We got up the first morning, and there was these 5 guys in swimming trunks and t-shirts out at the pool, and they had horns. There was 2 trombone, 2 saxes, 2 trumpets, and they were playing this riff. They were rehearsing this riff. And we came out of our rooms and we sit there, and they're sitting at the pool and they're playing this riff right there. And then they're yelling, play the riff, and then they holler something out. I was like, man, these dudes are bad. I mean, we're like 17, 16, 17 years old. These guys are obviously in their early 20s, and they're like, all right. We're just like, oh man, that's bad. So fast forward to the evening, we go on, we do our little local band 20-minute thing, time for the headliners to come on. So here comes the band. Those are the guys that come up. Of course, it's the whole band, bass and everything. And they start playing this tune, right? And that was, I think at the time, their hit record, which we knew nothing about. We never heard it. And then all of a sudden they said, okay, our next song, because they were opening up. These guys are backing up The Main Ingredient and New Birth. So our next song is something you got to be careful how you groove to. He said, and it's spelled kind of funny too. And they said, we spell this song, we call this song Confunction, CONFUNKSHUN. And then they start playing this riff that they're playing at the pool. And we sat there and we said, that's that song. And then all of a sudden the bass came in, the drummer rolled off and dropped the funk, and the sax player started wailing. We was just glued. We couldn't move. We was just, oh my God, that is, and they da 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 da. Hey, da 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 da. All right, da 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 da. It was just unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward to Memphis. We were playing the clubs. We're still called Project Soul. We're backing up to Soul Children, playing the clubs, and we're still called Project Soul. We met this guy named Ted Sturgis. He had a studio called 8073, and he signed us to a little recording contract. But he told us, he said, you guys are going to have to drop that name. The name is not going to take you anywhere. So we go back to the apartment. We sit in a big circle, back to the house. And we sit in the circle, and we sit drinking wine and whatever. And the guy says, hey, we're talking about, let's do this, let's do that. And then we start Change. I think Luther Vandross's group wound up being Change. And somebody, I don't know who said it, says, hey, what about that group, the Nightlighters? So what about them? What about that song they played, Confunction? And everybody just looked at each other, Confunction, like, and it was like, there's no need for discussion. It went around the room. Everybody was like, yeah, that's pretty. How'd they spell it? We spelled it out. Everybody remember how to spell it. You know, and we said, okay, you want to, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. We vote. Let's vote. Nobody, it was a unanimous.
Unanimous.
We went down to the club that night and told Mr. Bennett, you got to take that down. We are now called Confunction. And he thought we was crazy. He said, I can't sell no tickets. I ain't selling no tickets. Nobody know about no Confunction. I said, yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call the club owner voice.
Yeah. I can't sell no tickets. We said, that's the name of the band from now on. You know, after the night, you put your theater, a movie theater as a club. We had a marquee out front. You put our name up there, dude. And we start dressing we change clothes every set. And everything, got gumball machines and police lights and fog and stuff, man. And that name took off like wildfire. I mean, we had a group called the Party Brothers of Memphis State. They had their own little fraternity, and they kind of didn't go for the whole Kappa Alpha thing. They just started their own little fraternity called the Party Brothers Organization, and they do different charitable events. And they wound up adopting us and coming down to see us at the club, wearing these red shirts. Every night they come in with these red shirts with some kind of writing on them about whatever's going on, you know, whatever issue is out there. And these guys came in night after night. They would come see Confunction. And that's how we got huge in Memphis. And then we started branching out.
Wow. And there you have it. The story of how Confunction.
It was an interesting thing that the record company at that point, they were concerned that the name soul in our name is that the exact word phrase was too confining. That was their concern. They were concerned about the name, the word soul, but okay with funk.
Okay.
Yeah. Go figure. Right.
You know, at that point, what was that like? This point where you're like, okay, this is the business that we're going to be in. A business that has created superstars, iconic, a business that has also destroyed people and had, you know, for a variety of reasons. When you're at that point, you know, and you know, when you're young, at that point, okay, we're going to sign a record label. You were talking about, you know, that they can change the name. You have to do this. You have to do this. What was that like for you? Share with us where your heads were at that time, when you're just thinking, doesn't matter, we're going to be okay. It's the whole record label, record industry. We're just going to do. Or did you have, you know, some, you know, challenges? Did you have things going on within the group when, well, what are we going to do? How do we work this out? We have to sign contracts. We have to do.
For me, that step into that phrase that is called the music business for a reason. The switch was in the signing of that contract. You know, for me, the big moment was going from top 40 band to being the backup band for the Soul Children. We left Vallejo somewhere between the 2nd and the 4th of August of 1972. 3 weeks later, we're playing in front of 104,000 people, doing a live album, filming a movie. Watt Stacks. So for those of you who have not seen Watt Stacks, that's Project Soul playing behind Rufus Thomas. Was a whole nother story. And so we enjoyed about 2 years of just going out and performing. We didn't have to deal with the music business, right? The whole thing with the recording studio is that we had to do a recording for a local TV show. We thought we were doing it live, and we found out relatively last minute. No, you guys have to have a recording. So we had to go into the studio and record the song that we were going to perform. And so we picked 80 Audio Dimension Studios, and he invited us to keep coming back. Oh, goes and invitations. So we kept coming back, recording. And so one day he finally said, "All right, well, gentlemen, we need to start talking about when you're going to pay." Pay? You didn't say anything about pay. You just kept inviting us to come back. Oh, really? Hey, well, this is the music business, gentlemen. You surely can't expect us to be, footing the bill for this. So, oh, you can't pay $10,000. Well, I happen to have this recording contract behind my back.
Wow.
And so here's how we can work off this $10,000 by signing this down. And that for me was the switch over from, oh my God, I'm just going to do this for fun for the rest of my, oh my God, I got to deal with the business of this. That was devastating for me. My whole vision of the beautifulful-ness of going out playing music just for fun. My virginity was taken. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That was
that's a great story. I'm sure there are some folks who are surprised by that, and then I'm sure some folks who go, "Man, that's just like us."
Yeah.
You want to chime in on that?
Well, we had to fight. Literally, we signed with that guy. We recorded.
You did sign with him, huh?
Yeah, we did sign with him. He was hooked up with someone else who had splintered off from Stax named Estelle. The Stax name is from two people, Estelle Axton and Jimmy Stewart. It combined made Stax Records, and they sold the place. They sold the record company and splintered off and started their own little individual labels. And we were signed to one of their labels, Freetone Records, and that's where the gentleman that owned the studio came in. So you had us signed to him signed to them, and we wound up literally getting a record out on Freetone Records called Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan. Got on the radio and was killing all around the area, all the way into Little Rock down to Mississippi. WDIA started blasting it, and we're playing at the local club and listening to ourselves on the radio. Unbelievable. That's when you know you're okay. We're in the music business now. This is serious. And it just started going from there. Every 3 months something new would happen. It just started ballooning until finally we actually had to get into a lawsuit with that gentleman to get away. And luckily the judge was a violin player in the Memphis Symphony Orchestra. And the judge finally said, I'm not going to let you tie these young men up. So they've got a chance to move on, and you are going to have to, they got a chance to move on. You can keep their music, do whatever you want, make whatever money you want, but you're not going to keep them under contract.
Wow.
And judge bang. So we were free to sign with Mercury Records.
Wow. Again, a great story. I hope you all are enjoying this as much as I am, this opportunity to find out the backstory to Confunction, because a lot of us know you,
Right.
but we don't know that part of you. We know the other part, and I appreciate you sharing it. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and we'll get a little more current. I mean, I'm going to get in your Kool-Aid a little bit more, but we're going to be back here in a couple minutes. You're listening to Street Beat on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's me, your host, Tony B. My guest from Confunction, a.k.a. Project Soul, Mr. Michael Cooper and Mr. Felton Pilate. We'll be back right after this.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio,
your community radio station.
Do you feel uneasy on your feet? Need assistance to walk? Do you use a wheelchair and want to stand more? What if you could stand stronger, feel steadier on your feet? What would this mean for your daily life? Join our dance-based walking program to improve balance, coordination, strength, and stamina. Wednesdays in July and August at 2 p.m. at the iconic Columbia City Theater, in partnership with Rainier Avenue Radio and Hugs and Power Nonprofit. Walkers, wheelchairs, and canes welcome. If you can stand and bear weight for even just 5 seconds, come dance to walk with Tango Stride.
Yo, what's good? It's D-Money, and you should definitely check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Pacific, right on Rainier Avenue Radio.
With pint-sized Patron, P-Treasy the Don. Y'all be sure to clean your mirrors as we play brand new hip-hop and R&B from locals and worldwide.
It's ID yourself, aka Malcolm Flex. Make sure you check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday Pacific Standard Time from 9 to 11 p.m. And to get those exclusive interviews that we be doing,
Sipping a brand new fresh juice every single week.
yeah, every Wednesday, 9 to 11, Rainier Avenue Radio. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, I'm Paul Pearson of StarTime. Did you know that back in the 1930s, Rainier Avenue Radio operated out of a supply closet in the Columbia City Seafirst Bank? Well, times have changed and so have we. Now you can hear all the great Rainier Avenue Radio shows on our mobile app for Android and iPhone. It's completely free on the Google Play Store and the iPhone App Store. The Rainier Avenue Radio app.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Are you a small business owner in Seattle who was impacted by COVID-19? The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing $8 million to connect small businesses to operating capital. The Small Business Capital Access Program will lower the cost of Washington State Small Business Flex Fund loans by paying down 25% of the loan principal. Eligible small businesses can borrow up to $150,000 with a 4% interest rate to cover expenses like payroll, rent, utilities, and supplies.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenueradio.world.
Yo,
what up, though?
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
All right, then. It's time for you to bring it to the table.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat. Yeah.
With Tony B.
For the next hour, Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community. Street Beat. Street Beat.
Tony.
Welcome back to Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. We are here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I love that poem. And my guest joining me from Confunction, the iconic voices, Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate. And well, first again, thank you, first of all, for coming down here to South Seattle, the home of this is our hood. This is, and being here at the historic Columbia City Theater, it is just an honor, and appreciate both of you taking your time.
We appreciate you having us on.
Thank you so much.
Coming down here and doing this interview, and let me get in your past Kool-Aid a little bit too, so we can find out a little about. So I want to fast forward now, and we were talking about songwriting, and so you make your first Confunction album. A lot of times for a lot of groups, that's the last time you hear of them. Mm-hmm. For you, and I had talked about, no matter how different the songs sound, it still sounds like Confunction, which is a hard thing to do. Is that intentional? What is the process when you're moving from one album to the next album, and you think, do we have to duplicate the success? What happens if people don't hear what they anticipate hearing? I don't know. Y'all tell me now about that. Okay, you've got an album, you've done the deal, you're in the business, you know you're in the business. Made the first album, your Confunction. Is that pressure? Is that like, this is an opportunity? Katie bar the door. It's about to be on and popping. You know.
I think the best thing that could happen to us is that our first album tanked. We signed with Mercury Records, we signed a 2-record deal.
Mm-hmm.
So the first album did about 30,000 records, had no real hit on it.
What was the
And
title of that album?
Just Confunction.
Just Confunction.
Confunction. Yes.
The release was Sure Feels Good to Me, right?
Sure Feel Good to Me. I was on Secrets on it.
Oh.
Sure Feels Good to Me.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those? I can't remember. Well, we didn't have a big hit. As in those days, Barkays were signed with the same label. And of course, their first record blew up. So we really got to talk about pressure. Then we really got put under pressure. But the calm person in all this was a gentleman who happened to be the head of the record company in Chicago, Charlie Fash. And Charlie Fash, the guy who actually got on a plane, came down at 6 a.m, got off the plane, took a cab, and looked at us at the nightclub. We had to play a show for him, or about 5 or 6 songs for him, at about 7 o'clock in the morning, right? At that same club. He saw us from the back of the room, and he hollered, "Hey, Mike, have Jetty give me a call." And he got back in the cab and went back to Chicago. We spent all day long wondering, were we going to get signed to Mercury? Get signed to Mercury, 2-record deal. First record tanked. Didn't do nothing. 30,000 records. And Charles Fash said, "You know what? That's all right."
So just to be clear, at that time, 30,000 records was a flop.
That was awful.
Relatively speaking.
That was terrible.
30,000.
Yeah. Now, 30,000 is still a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know who bought that record around the Memphis area, around the Mississippi, Arkansas area. We don't know to this day. But what happened is that he said, "Go back in the studio and try it again." And we had to tap into everything. What we did is we packed up and went back to California. And we went into studio in San Francisco. And we were writing prior to leaving to go back to California. We were writing. I had to come up with something that would work on the radio. And I heard this song, Daz Daz Disco Jazz, by a group called Brick. Flute solo. We had a dynamite flute player in our band. I said, all I got to do is write something with some funk on it and had us put this flute on it and sing that, use that falsetto of his and get it out there. And the next thing we know, we were going to a place called the Nairobi Lounge in Little Rock, Arkansas. We had a 4-track TAC machine.
Oh, man, that was...
And the TAC went everywhere we went. Everywhere we went, they took that big 4-track. And I got into Willie Hadley's office and I did my drums on the guitar strings. And I wound up writing the parts to Fun, Fun, Fun. Right? And when we got back to rehearsal, we played it. Went out to California, dropped Fun, Fun, Fun. I don't know how they did things in those days, but some kind of way that master had to get back to where it was supposed to go. And we continued to work on the album. And that record took off like a rocket.
Yeah, it did.
It was like, and so long story short, we went #1. So when Secrets came out, it went gold probably in less than 2 months, about 2 months.
Wow.
So it went from 30,000 records to 500, almost 600,000 records.
Wow.
Just like that.
We were blessed to hook up with a gentleman who had done some work with Earth, Wind, and Fire. His name was Skip Scarborough. For those of you who have never heard the name, he wrote Love Ballad for LTD. He wrote Don't Ask My Neighbor for The Emotions. He wrote Lovely Day for Bill Withers.
Wow.
And we hunted him down as one of the choices for producing this. We basically produced the first album ourselves with the help of Ron. What's his name from
Ron. I can't
remember his name.
Capone.
Ron Capone. And he was chosen because of his work with Tower of Power. And we're a horn band. Hey, well, we need to bring that in, right? But for the second album, obviously we need to do something bigger. So we got a hold of Skip Scarborough. But this is after David Foster turned us down. Yes, David Foster, I'm calling you out. So we tracked down Skip, and what Skip brought in with us was a very calm but professional demeanor. He was very precise on his chord. I learned a lot from him as far as chord progression and stuff like that. And so, I'm sorry. And he also he wrote Can't Hide Love for From the Fire and what was the other, Love's Holiday. Right. So what he brought with him was all of these people he had been working with as able to infuse that into our sound. Michael mentioned a 4-track. Once we discovered that, man, it was on and popping because we found, we can record the drum part here. We can build this, blah, blah, blah. We can put the bass there, bounce all down track for him. We've still got more. That whole process.
I just want people to know when you say bounce that down, because it was a different process.
Yeah.
So the old TX, which weighed about 4,000 pounds, but the precision that I loved about them is like a fine. You hear the click, and then everything would go just precision wise, with those. So bouncing down, you record on a couple tracks, and you only got 4 tracks,
right?
Or you record, and then you bounce that down.
You mix those three,
and
record that onto the 4th track.
Onto the 4th track. And then that's what you have. There is no going back.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you then erase tracks 1 through 3 and add some more stuff on top of it.
Okay.
And that writing tool became the essence of a lot of what we did on that first album.
Wow.
But Skip brought in his expertise and his experiences, and that for the next 4 albums was an additional thing to perfecting the Confunction sound.
Yeah. Skip Scarborough will have a chapter in my book because of the as he mentioned, the songs that he was involved in throughout his career as a hit writer and producer. For us to have the honor of working with a guy like that, and he came in and just he could handle us. We were like a bunch of yahoos, and he could just handle us. We thought we knew. He used to tell me, Mike, come on, man, really? I think we need to go this way and do it like that. And I'd be like mad as hell. I said, okay. Then I hear what he's talking about, and I'm going like, oh my God. I had a tune called Juicy.
Yeah.
It's one same chord progressions all the way through the whole song, a couple of stops in the song, but it was pretty much written. Me and my wife at the time pretty much messed around with the lyrics, and we were hooked up at the time with the Escovedo family, Sheila Escovedo and Sheila E. And it was a calypso cha-cha Latino record.
Yeah.
And I remember Skip falling in love with. I wrote it and waiting on my uncle to pick me up at LAX in Los Angeles airport. I wrote it on my guitar, just sitting there. And I remember.
Make sure you listen to that song.
Yeah.
Make sure you listen to that song.
It is one of my favorites. It's my favorites. And Skip's loved the chord progression. I mean, this guy was Mr. Chord Progression, but he loved what I had done. He just wanted to be involved in that record. And I will never forget him getting out on the floor. We all had on these headphones like this and different parts of the studio. And he's standing out on the floor as if he's about to direct an orchestra, playing some big wall of sound. But we're getting ready to do this little Latino groove. And I'll never forget, the look on his face. He's like, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. And I don't know who's playing the piano, you or Danny?
B.
I think you said, and all of a sudden you heard this, and it dropped. Lewis dropped the beat on that, and we were playing it. Now, as a writer, I'm sitting there playing my little part, but I knew that was going to be the take. How you could stops and the starts. Oh, and then when Sheila came and did her overdubs and stuff, it was like, man. So if anybody listens to Juicy, some versions they've cut the count off. They've cut Skip off. But other versions, if you get the opportunity to hear, especially on Amazon, I think Amazon's got this part where he counts the record off. I love it. It's so dear to my heart because I was looking at him when he did it. And when it comes on my Alexa, it comes on. I just think so much about him. It just comes a big warm feeling because Skip Scarborough was a phenomenal writer, producer.
And I had no idea that was Sheila E.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Playing at that time.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Wow. My guests again are the iconic voices of Confunction, Mr. Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate. You're listening to Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. Confunction will be performing at Jazz Alley tonight, tomorrow, Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, a show on Sunday. My understanding is that there are few tickets left, so you should call them not now, right now. All right. So that you can partake in the performance after you've had the opportunity to hear these gentlemen here live on Rainier Avenue Radio World. Now that gets me to Seattle. This is not your first rodeo in Seattle. But so what do y'all, and you can be honest, what do you think of obviously you know we love having y'all here. What do you think of Seattle? Way up here in the Pacific Northwest. Have you ever thought about Seattle before y'all started coming up here? And what do you think about Seattle? You got a beautiful week to be here too, by the way.
Before then, I thought Seattle was just rain and Space Needle. That was it. You go whatever you saw on television, it was always raining, and there's this wonderful Space Needle in monorail.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got here. I can't remember playing Seattle with Confunction, but I can remember playing Seattle as a solo artist, Michael Cooper.
I remember too.
I used to come to play some of the most crazy places, right? And I remember playing on the sound on a boat, right? The whole doggone boat was moving. I don't know why these people threw this party and put it out there on the water. I did a track date on a boat, and I did track dates. I must have did about 20 track dates here in Seattle. And I think Confunction finally got to Seattle. We came to Tacoma first at a club in Tacoma, and slowly we began to work our way into Seattle on the bigger shows, on the festivals. And there's one, the Sunjata.
Festival Sunjata.
Sunjata.
Yes.
Sunjata. Thank you for correcting me. I've been trying to learn how to say that for years. And we wound up doing 2 of those. And then from there, some kind of way we got involved with the Dimitri's Jazz Alley.
Yeah.
And that's the real home of Confunction right now, Jazz Alley.
Do you like playing the smaller venue as opposed to the larger venues? I know you said earlier, now all of a sudden we're playing in front of all these people. Do you like playing? We certainly like seeing you like that. You know, what is the difference? And then I want to hear your opinion about Seattle too, before I add on that other question. But you can think about that. So tell me, Seattle. What's
Seattle? My first time, we did play. We had a series of some dates, and we were playing with Pleasure.
Pleasure.
And of course,
that must have been a Confunction and Pleasure.
Crazy.
Man.
Nathaniel Phillips.
Oh my gosh.
Marlon McClain on guitar.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Oh, how come nobody? You need to run that back.
Man, I gotta be honest. They were so funky. I sat on the audience and watched them. So I didn't get a chance to look at Seattle. I mean, all I remember is the date. But last time we were here, my wife and I had a chance to go out and out on the wharf and walk around. And man, it's absolutely beautiful. I love it here.
Yeah.
Love it here. There's a different type of excitement depending on the size of the venue. Now, of course, at the larger venue, you're feeding in on just the number of crowds. I personally prefer the smaller venues, where I can look at who I'm singing to, as individuals, as opposed to just a mass of faces. It's a different kind of vibe. I actually prefer the smaller venues.
Really?
We played 2 weeks ago at the Microsoft Theater with everybody. Cameo, SOS Band, everybody in the Microsoft Theater holds, I think, 9,000 people. It's packed. Going from the Microsoft Theater to Dimitri's Jazz Alley. That's serious.
Yeah.
That's serious. I mean, we're pounding at the Microsoft. We killed them. We rolled over them. We tore them up. Took them on the Love Train. I think it was like a 50 by 40 stage. And now we get to go in Jazz Alley, and here we are. We got to stuff it on down and get it all together. Not play so hard, not play so loud, and the difference is going to be astounding. We love it.
Yeah.
We love it. And 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 we love it because now we're like, it's the living room effect. You just coming into my living room, let's just jam and have a good time.
Yeah. My guests again, Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate. I had to ask you this. You're from the Bay Area. One of the reasons I asked you about Seattle is we are proud of our musical history up here. We've had some, I mentioned you just in this particular building. Jimi Hendrix played here in high school. Quincy Jones played here. We have a music history, a very diverse music history up here. Y'all are from the Bay Area.
Right.
And what I wanted to ask was about that influence. Was there an influence? I mean, because you talked about playing out in San Francisco, all these different places. What was the influence of the Bay Area, or did it have an influence on you?
Oh my God, I'm seeing my book come together as I might have to have you do the voice. I'm seeing me at about 2:00 in the morning, at 18 years old, driving my old '58 Chevy with the hole in the floor. And I'm rolling up to
you can see the street is what you're saying.
I'm rolling up to this stoplight at about 2:00. Well, it's before 2:00, about 1:40 in the morning. And I stopped, and my window was broken right on this side. So it was half window, half cardboard. And I stopped next to this club called the Lucky 13, and I heard this horns was just kicking, like all this horn, right? And I'm thinking, what in the hell is that? So I finally I pull over and I get out the car and I listen, and these guys are wailing. I mean, the funk and the drum, the bass, and all these horns. So I just parked the car and walked down the street, and I stuck my head in the door, and I looked up and I saw these wall of horns with the drummer and a guitar player, right? Bass player. That was it. Just a wall of horns. And the guy says, "Can I see your ID?" I said, "Well, I'm not old enough to come in." He said, "Well, you can go ahead and sit right over here." He said, "Because they're going to be done at 2:00. And I'm sitting in there, man. I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm listening to this dude singing. His brother, he's doing the lead vocals. And when they got through, they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you back here tomorrow night, and we are the Tower of Power." Man, I was blown away. I was like, about 2 months later, East Bay Grease came out. And I all the stuff they were playing was on East Bay Grease.
Wow.
So influences from Sly Stone.
He's from Vallejo.
He's from Vallejo too.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Tower of Power.
Shout out to Vallejo.
Yes, indeed. And it just goes from there. Just goes from there, man. Santana, just goes from there. It's just we were surrounded.
Her is from Vallejo.
Did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. She opened for us at about 5-6 years ago at the Pleasant Fair. Yeah.
About how long ago?
About 5-6 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
She was killing it back then.
Tell me, Felton, for you, Bay Area. Musically, was it impactful in your musical life? Was it?
It was, but more of it was because of what I had to learn in my band, right?
Okay.
And learning what I kept hearing on the radio. I didn't get out much, I'll be honest with you. My mom would have never let me go. But the music was more impacted on me, not from who I saw live, but because once I joined Project Soul on all the musical journeys that we had to take to learn the material that we needed to know for our gigs, that was the bulk of my music journey. So I have to honestly say a lot of my influences just came from that.
Wow. I know we just have a couple minutes left. I appreciate y'all answering my questions and indulging my curiosity. I want to make sure that you get an opportunity to say something to all of those listening right now live. And then obviously there'll be other folks who listen on demand. Anything that you want. I'm going to say, maybe you can say something special to the people of Seattle. But whatever you want to say, in whatever context you would like to put it in right now. I mean, there's so many directions that I want to go because we're out of time. The music business now versus the music business. Whatever you want to say, both of you. The floor is yours.
It's been a wonderful journey. Seattle, 4 gold albums and a platinum album, and we love every one of you. Thank you so much for being our fans.
Absolutely, and Seattle is it's close to my heart because Felton and I have a somewhat family member here.
Yeah,
Mr. Walter Kors, who's lived in Snoqualmie for 25 years.
Yeah,
25 years now. So we get a chance to come up and see him, and I'm always tilted to reach out and grab the salmon that are swimming by up there. But Seattle is, near and dear to our hearts. And I got to say, your commentary here today has really opened my mind up as far as my book. And the book is called On Love's Train, The Life That Loves the Man, the Music.
All right.
And it's coming out hopefully fall of next year, because I had to keep rewriting things because Mr. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak gave me a whole new ending. So we love Seattle, and we'll be back again and again and again and again. Okay. We love it.
We're going to have you back in a different role. Then we'll have you back as an author.
Yes.
To talk about the book.
Oh, also this Christmas record is coming out in about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You have a Christmas record coming.
We have
our first Christmas album.
What?
Yeah.
It's called
Breaking News.
Home for Christmas. Home for Christmas.
And this is
brand new
material.
Brand new material.
There's some cover songs, but it's mostly original material.
Yeah. But it's y'all just did this.
We actually did it last year. We leaked a couple of songs. The songs they went through the roof.
Yeah.
And we did a show, a Christmas show, a weekend like we do here. We did a place called Yoshi's in Oakland.
Very
we did
familiar with that.
a Christmas weekend. And we did 2 songs from the album, and it went through the roof. So now we're just going to go ahead and release the album.
Okay. So I'm going to you're going to let me know about this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. One of the places that we'll be distributing is right here in Seattle.
All right. Rainier Avenue Radio. And we're going to do everything that we can to get this, if not first, second.
All right.
So that we can break it here to our listeners right here in South Seattle. Again, you're listening to Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. And this is a special broadcast. My special guest from Confunction, the iconic voices. And I just went, Michael Cooper and Felton Pilate. Thank y'all.
Thank you again.
So much for being here tonight, Wednesday night. I think there's a few tickets. I'm going tonight. So, then Thursday, then Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, and then Sunday. And I think every day you're here, it's like 90 degrees. Just remarkable. So we need to get you guys here every single summer, to bring the Confunction heat. And now we know what Confunction came from as well. So hopefully we'll see you down at the show. Thank you, gentlemen, again for being here. Really enjoyed talking to you. Look forward to seeing a phenomenal show tonight. That's it. That's all the time I have. That's going to do it for the kid. It's me, your host, Tony B, a Street Beat, saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are probably right. I'm out. Peace.